Admiral stood on the bridge of his massive warship, watching the stars through the large window. His 3 eyes glowed red with excitement as he read the message that had just arrived. The communication was old, pulled from a stolen Galactic Council database. It talked about something called Earth. "A primitive world," he said to his second-in-command captain. "Look at this. They say these humans still use metal weapons that shoot tiny pieces of metal. They call them bullets." Made a sound that was like laughter in their language. "Metal bullets. Our shields can stop energy beams from the strongest weapons. What could metal bullets do to us?" Scrolled through more information on his screen. It says here that this planet Earth was placed under something called quarantine 40 years ago. The Council decided that no one should contact them until they become more advanced. "Why would they do that?" asked, looking confused. "The report says they are too violent and not ready for contact with other species," replied. "But look at this. They still fight each other with machines that roll on the ground. They call them tanks, and they drop bombs from flying machines." He shook his head. So primitive. Had been looking for an easy target. His people, had already conquered 17 star systems. Each victory made them stronger and more feared across the galaxy. But now they needed something big. Something that would make the Galactic Council notice them and fear them. "How many humans live on this Earth?" asked. "About 8 billion, said, reading from the report. "All crowded on one small planet. They have no spaceships for war, no energy shields, no plasma weapons. This will be easy." The bridge became quiet as both officers thought about this opportunity. Around them, crew members worked at their stations, monitoring the ship's systems. The warship was huge, almost 2 miles long, and it was just one of 200 ships in its fleet. "Sir," called out the communications officer, "I found more information about this Earth." "Show me," ordered. The officer pressed some buttons, and new information appeared on the main screen. The Council records show that Earth has something called nations. These are groups of humans who control different parts of the planet. Most interesting thing is that these nations fight each other all the time. Smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "Even better, they fight each other so they will not work together against us. We can defeat them one group at a time." The records also show they have weapons called nuclear bombs, the officer continued. "But the report says they are afraid to use them because they might damage their own planet." "Afraid to use their strongest weapons," laughed again. "What kind of warriors are afraid to fight with everything they have?" Walked to his command chair and sat down. "Set course for this Earth. Send word to all ships in the fleet. We will show the galaxy what happens when the hegemony decides to expand." "Yes, sir," replied the navigation officer. "The journey will take 6 days at full speed." Whilst fleet began moving toward Earth, something else was happening far away. On a planet called Nexus Prime, the leaders of the Galactic Council were having an emergency meeting. The council chamber was massive, with representatives from dozens of different species sitting in circles around a central area. At the center stood Ambassador H, a member of the warlike Talon Empire. His feathers were ruffled with worry. "Our long-range sensors have detected the fleet," he announced to the chamber. "They are heading directly toward the Sol system." A murmur went through the crowd. The ethereal sage, a being made of pure energy, spoke first. "They do not know what they are doing." "We must warn them," said the representative from the Quantum Collective. Her metallic voice echoed in the chamber. "We cannot let them attack Earth without knowing the truth." "What truth?" asked a young council member who had only recently joined. "The reports say humans are primitive. They should be easy to defeat." H's feathers stood up straight. "You do not understand. The quarantine was not put in place to protect humans from us." "Then why?" the young member asked. "To protect us from them," H replied quietly. The chamber became silent. Even the ethereal sage, who rarely showed emotion, seemed to grow dimmer. 40 years ago," H continued, We had our first contact with humans. It was during the incident. A small group of humans had somehow built a ship and reached the nearest star system. They were attacked by pirates. What happened? Someone asked. The pirates killed most of the humans, H said. But the few who survived did something we had never seen before. They turned their cargo ship into a weapon. They flew it directly into the pirate base and destroyed everything, including themselves. That is just suicide, the young council member said. Many species fight to the death. But they did not just die, the ethereal sage added. Before they attacked, they sent out a message. They told everyone in the galaxy exactly how they did it. They shared their plans, their weapons, designs, everything. Even while dying, they were teaching others how to fight. H nodded. Within a year, 3 other species had started using the same tactics against their enemies. The humans had been in space for less than a month, and they had already changed how war was fought in their region of the galaxy. So we decided to quarantine their planet, the Quantum Collective representative added. We told them it was for their protection, but really it was for ours. And now they are going to attack them, the young council member said, finally understanding. Yes, H replied, and they have no idea what they are about to wake up. The council chamber fell silent again as everyone thought about what was coming. Some wanted to warn others thought they should let events happen naturally. Finally, the ethereal sage spoke. We will not interfere. The galaxy needs to see what happens when someone attacks Earth. Maybe then everyone will understand why we keep humans isolated. As the council meeting ended, S fleet was already halfway to Earth. The admiral was excited about his easy victory. He had no idea that he was about to make the biggest mistake in galactic history. Admiral stood on his bridge, looking at the blue and green planet called Earth. It was smaller than he expected, and it looked peaceful from space. His fleet of 200 warships surrounded the planet in a perfect formation. Open a communication channel to the planet, he ordered. Let us get this over with quickly. The communications officer pressed several buttons. Channel open, sir. Straightened up and spoke in a loud, commanding voice. People of Earth, I am Admiral of the Hegemony. You are now under our control. Surrender immediately and your deaths will be quick. Resist and you will suffer. He expected immediate panic. He expected the humans to argue among themselves about what to do. He expected quick surrender from this primitive species. What he did not expect was silence. Sir, the communications officer said after several minutes, we are receiving thousands of transmissions from the planet, but they are all in different languages. Pick one and translate it, ordered. A human voice filled the bridge, speaking in clear English that their computers could understand. This is General Hayes of the United States Space Command. Your message has been received and shared with all nations on Earth. Smiled good, and what is your answer? Our answer is simple, the general replied. Earth stands, come and take it. Then the transmission ended. Looked confused. Come and take it. That is their response to superior firepower. Captain was studying readings from the planet. Sir, something strange is happening down there. What do you mean? All the human military forces are moving, but they are not running away. They are gathering together. Show me, ordered. The main screen showed images from satellites around Earth, pointed to different areas on the planet. Look here. These nations were at war with each other yesterday, according to our intelligence reports. The Americans and Russians have been enemies for decades, but now their military ships are sailing toward the same meeting points. And here, another officer added, pointing to different areas. Chinese and Indian forces are working together. Even the smaller countries are joining up with their neighbors. Watched in growing confusion as military forces from every nation on Earth began moving to defend their planet together. How are they organizing so quickly? They do not even have faster-than-light communication between their countries. Actually, sir, the intelligence officer spoke up, they do have something called the Internet. It connects the whole planet instantly. In less than 6 hours, reported, they have created a single command structure. Every human military force is now taking orders from a joint council. Could not believe what he was hearing. Impossible. No species can unify that quickly. It takes years of negotiation and treaty making. Perhaps they are more advanced than our reports suggested, said carefully. No, growled. They are still primitive. Look at their weapons. Metal bullets and chemical explosives. We will show them real power. He turned to his weapons officer. Target their largest cities. Fire warning shots. Show them what our energy weapons can do. Yes, sir. Beams of blue energy shot down from the ships, striking empty areas near human cities. The explosions were massive, creating craters where forests and hills had been. Expected immediate surrender. Instead, something else happened. Sir, the communications officer said, sounding worried, we are receiving a new transmission from Earth. Put it through. This time the voice was different. It belonged to an older human man. This is Admiral Wei speaking for the Earth Defense Council. We have seen your weapons. We are not impressed. Not impressed, shouted. We just destroyed an entire mountain. Yes, you did, Admiral replied calmly. And now we know exactly how much energy your weapons use, how long they take to recharge, and where your ships need to be positioned to fire them. Thank you for the information. The transmission ended again, leaving the bridge in silence. Sir, the sensor officer called out, I am detecting movement from Earth. What kind of movement? Small spacecraft, they appear to be. Civilian vessels, cargo ships, passenger transports, even small private ships. They are all leaving Earth's atmosphere. Studied his instruments. There are hundreds of them, sir, maybe thousands. Are they fleeing? Asked. No, sir, the sensor officer replied, sounding confused. They are flying directly toward our ships. Looked at the screen showing the approaching human vessels. They were tiny compared to his warships, and most of them looked like they had been built for peaceful purposes. What are they doing? He got his answer minutes later when the first human ship reached the outer edge of his formation. Instead of trying to fight with weapons, the small cargo ship aimed itself directly at one of his destroyers and flew into it at full speed. The explosion was not large by space battle standards, but it damaged the destroyer's shields and hull. Before it could react, a dozen more human ships did the same thing to other vessels in his fleet. They are ramming us, shouted. They are flying their ships directly into ours. Destroy them, ordered. All ships open fire on the human vessels. Energy beams and plasma bolts filled the space around Earth as the fleet fired at the approaching humans. Many of the small ships were destroyed instantly, but many more kept coming. Sir, the communications officer said, we are picking up transmissions from the human ships. What are they saying? They are singing, sir. Singing. The bridge speakers filled with human voices singing what sounded like war songs in dozens of different languages. Some were old songs about fighting for freedom. Others were new songs that humans were making up as they flew to their deaths. One transmission came through clearly in English. This is Captain Sarah Martinez of the cargo ship New Hope. My ship is loaded with 500 tons of refined metals. I'm coming for you, you alien bastards. Her ship struck a cruiser moments later, and both vessels exploded. Status report, demanded. We have lost 12 ships so far, reported. Another 30 have damage from these ramming attacks. How many human ships have we destroyed? Over 300, sir. Felt a chill run through his body. The humans had lost 300 ships and their crews, and they were still attacking. No civilized species would sacrifice so many lives for so little damage. Sir, the sensor officer called out, More human vessels are launching from Earth. It looks like. It looks like they converted their entire civilian fleet. All of it? Yes, sir. Passenger ships, cargo vessels, even small personal craft. They all appear to have been fitted with weapons or explosives. Watched the screen as thousands more human ships rose from Earth's surface. Each one was flying toward his fleet, ready to ram his vessels even if it meant certain death. What kind of species does this? He whispered to himself. Captain heard him. Sir, perhaps we should reconsider our attack. These humans are not acting like any enemy we have fought before. No, shouted. We are the hegemony. We do not retreat from primitive aliens who still use metal bullets. But as he watched more human ships approach, singing their war songs and flying to their deaths, Admiral began to wonder if he had made a terrible mistake. 3 weeks had passed since Admiral began his attack on Earth. He sat in his command chair, staring at reports that made no sense. His invasion of this primitive planet should have ended in hours. Instead, he was trapped in the worst nightmare of his military career. Report, he ordered Captain, though he dreaded hearing the answer. We have lost 62 ships, sir, said quietly. Another 115 have significant damage. And the humans? Their losses are much higher, sir. We estimate they have lost over 10,000 ships and millions of personnel. Should have felt good about those numbers. The humans were losing far more ships and people than he was, but something was wrong, very wrong. Then why do I feel like we are losing this war? He asked. Pulled up images on the main screen. Because of this, sir. The screen showed Earth from space, but it did not look the same as it had 3 weeks ago. The planet was now surrounded by a massive cloud of debris and new construction. Hundreds of space stations and weapon platforms had appeared as if by magic. How did they build all of that so quickly? Demanded. We are not sure, sir, the intelligence officer replied. But our analysis suggests they have converted their entire planet's industry to war production. Every factory, every construction site, every manufacturing facility is now making weapons or spacecraft. That is impossible. It takes years to convert civilian industry to military production. For most species, yes, sir, but humans appear to be different. Studied the images more carefully. What are those large structures near their moon? Those are the most disturbing parts, sir, answered. They appear to be mass drivers, giant magnetic launchers that can throw objects at very high speed. What kind of objects? Anything they want, sir. Metal containers filled with explosives, chunks of rock and metal, even some of their destroyed ships. The weapons officer spoke up from his station. Sir, we detected one of those mass drivers firing yesterday. The projectile weighed about 50 tons and was moving at nearly 10% of light speed when it passed our formation. Where was it aimed? That is the strange part, sir. It was not aimed at us. It was aimed at empty space about 3 light hours away. Felt confused. Why would they shoot at nothing? We think they were testing their aim, sir, the intelligence officer said, learning how to hit targets at long range. Show me what else they have built. The screen changed to show close-up images of human construction projects. Saw space stations that looked like they had been built from scrap metal and spare parts, but they were functional and they were armed. This station here, pointed to one of the larger structures, appears to be a weapons research facility. We have detected several new types of energy signatures coming from it. New energy signatures? Yes, sir. The humans seem to have reverse-engineered some of our technology from the ship debris. His 3 eyes widened. That is impossible. Our technology is thousands of years more advanced than theirs. According to our intelligence reports, sir, humans have something they call the Internet. When one group of humans learns something new, they can share it with their entire species instantly. And they appear to be sharing everything, sir. Every piece of our technology they recover, Every new weapon design they create, every tactical discovery they make, all of it is being shared across their planet in real time. The communications officer interrupted their conversation. "Sir, we are receiving another transmission from Earth." "Put it through," ordered. The voice that came through the speakers was different from the previous ones. This human sounded younger and excited. "Attention fleet. This is Dr. Sarah of the Earth Defense Research Division. We want to thank you for the wonderful technology samples you have been providing us." "Technology samples," growled. "Every ship of yours we destroy gives us more pieces to study," Doctor continued. "We have figured out how your shields work, how your weapons focus energy, and how your engines generate power. Very impressive engineering." "Destroy this transmission," ordered. "Actually, Admiral," the human continued, "we wanted to show you what we have learned." Suddenly, alarms began ringing throughout the ship. "Sir," the sensor officer shouted, "multiple energy signatures approaching from Earth." On the main screen, saw something that made his blood freeze. Rising from Earth's surface were hundreds of objects that glowed with the same blue energy as weapons. "They are firing our own weapons at us," he whispered. "It appears so, sir," replied, "but the energy signatures are different, stronger." The first human-made energy beam struck a destroyer. Instead of the normal blue glow of their weapons, this beam was bright white and much more powerful. The destroyer's shields collapsed immediately, and the ship exploded. "How are they generating that much power?" demanded. "Sir," the engineering officer called out, "I think I know. Our weapons are designed to be energy efficient. The humans have rebuilt them to use much more power, even if it burns out the weapon after one shot. They made weapons that destroy themselves when fired." "Yes, sir, but they are much more powerful than ours." More white energy beams shot up from Earth, each one destroying or severely damaging a ship. The humans were using single-shot weapons that burned themselves out, but they were devastating. "Sir," the communications officer said, "Doctor is still transmitting." "We also wanted to share something with you," the human scientist continued. "We have learned that your species needs a specific type of atmosphere to breathe, so we have created a gift for you." "What kind of gift?" asked, though he was afraid to hear the answer. "We have weaponized our planet's magnetic field," Doctor replied cheerfully. "We can now generate electromagnetic pulses strong enough to disable your ship systems from the planet's surface. We are also working on ways to use our atmosphere as a giant antenna to broadcast directly into your ships." Looked at his crew. "Can they actually do that?" "Theoretically, yes, sir," the science officer replied, "if they have enough power and the right technology." "We have both now," Doctor said, as if she could hear their conversation. "We have been very busy while you have been shooting at us. Oh, and Admiral, we have a question for you." "What?" asked. "How many ships did you bring to our solar system?" "Why do you want to know?" "Because we want to make sure we have enough asteroids ready." "Asteroids?" The sensor officer's voice was filled with panic. "Sir, multiple large objects approaching from the asteroid belt." On the screen, saw dozens of huge chunks of rock and metal flying toward his fleet. Each asteroid was the size of a small mountain, and they were all equipped with human-built engines and guidance systems. "They turned their asteroid belt into weapons?" asked in disbelief. "Not all of it," Doctor's voice replied. "Just the parts we could reach in 3 weeks. But do not worry, Admiral. We have been working on bigger projects too." "What bigger projects?" "Well, we figured out something interesting about your species. You come from a planet with much lower gravity than ours. That means your ships are not designed to handle the kind of forces we deal with every day." Felt a chill of fear. "What are you saying?" "We are saying that we have turned our entire planet into a weapon, Admiral, and we are just getting started." As if to prove her point, the planet Earth itself seemed to pulse with energy. Every human weapon platform, every space station, every converted ship, all of them began charging up at the same time. Admiral realized that he was no longer fighting a primitive species. He was fighting something far more dangerous. Humans who had nothing left to lose and unlimited creativity in finding new ways to kill their enemies. Admiral had not slept in 3 days. His fleet was dying around him, ship by ship, and the humans showed no signs of stopping their insane attacks. But what happened next was beyond anything he could have imagined. "Sir," Captain said quietly, "you need to see this." The main screen showed Earth, but something was terribly wrong. The beautiful blue and green planet was changing. Large parts of the surface were glowing red with heat. "What are they doing to their own planet?" asked. "According to our scans, sir," the science officer replied, "they are destroying their own cities." "What?" "Not just destroying them, sir. They are melting them down. Every major city on Earth is being converted into raw materials for more weapons and ships." Stared at the screen in horror. "They are destroying their own civilization." "It appears so, sir. Our intelligence suggests they have evacuated their populations to underground shelters and space stations. Then they began systematically destroying every building, every road, every piece of infrastructure they had built." "Why would any species do that?" Captain answered grimly, "So we cannot have it, sir." The communications officer looked up from his station. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from Earth. It is being broadcast on all frequencies to the entire galaxy." "Put it through." A human voice filled the bridge. It belonged to an older man who sounded tired but determined. "This is Admiral Thomas of the Earth Defense Forces. I am sending this message to every intelligent species in the galaxy." Wanted to cut off the transmission, but he found himself listening. "My name is Thomas, and I am probably going to die today," the human continued. "My planet is burning, my people are dying, and we are doing it to ourselves because we will not let alien invaders have our world." "Turn it off," ordered. "Sir," the communications officer replied, "they are broadcasting this on emergency frequencies. Every ship in the galaxy is required to monitor these channels." "We want everyone to know what happened here," Admiral continued. "We want you to know that when aliens came to our world and demanded surrender, we chose to burn our own planet rather than give it to them." On the screen, could see massive explosions across Earth's surface. The humans were detonating their own nuclear weapons in their own cities. "Sir," the sensor officer called out, "I am detecting massive energy readings from Earth's core." "Their core?" "Yes, sir. It appears they have drilled deep into their planet and placed some kind of device there." Admiral's voice continued, "We have spent the last month preparing for this moment. We have turned our solar system into the largest weapon in galactic history, not to conquer other worlds, but to make sure that if we die, we take our enemies with us." "What is he talking about?" demanded. The science officer's voice was filled with fear. "Sir, if they have placed nuclear devices in their planet's core, they could destabilize the entire system. They could turn their own sun into a weapon." "That is suicide on a cosmic scale," whispered. "We know you can hear this," Admiral said. "Admiral of the hegemony, we know your species conquers other worlds by making the people afraid. You make them think resistance is hopeless." Felt a chill run through his body. "But we want the galaxy to know something," the human admiral continued. "Resistance is never hopeless. Even when you are outnumbered, even when the enemy has better weapons, even when defeat is certain, you can still choose how you die." Alarms began ringing throughout the ship. "Sir," the sensor officer shouted, "multiple objects launching from Earth." The screen showed thousands of small ships leaving Earth's atmosphere, but these were different from the previous attacks. Analysis ordered. "Sir, these ships appear to be escape pods, but they are not running away from us. They are flying past us toward open space. Escape pods, why? Admiral's transmission answered his question. These ships contain copies of everything we learned while fighting you. Our weapon designs, our tactics, our research on your technology. We are sending this information to every inhabited world in the galaxy. Stop those ships, ordered. Sir, there are too many of them. They are scattering in all directions. Some are using faster-than-light drives we built from captured technology. We cannot stop them all, added. We want every enslaved species to know how to fight back, Admiral continued. We want every conquered world to know that their oppressors can be defeated. We are sending you the weapons and knowledge you need. The communications officer looked up with panic in his eyes. Sir, this transmission is not just reaching our fleet. It is being received by every world in space. What? The humans somehow gained access to our communication network. Their message is being broadcast to every planet we control. Felt his world collapse around him. All of our conquered worlds are hearing this. Yes, sir. And they are hearing detailed instructions on how to build weapons that can defeat our ships. On the screen, Earth was growing brighter. The planet's surface was now glowing white-hot in many places. Sir, the science officer said quietly, they have begun the final phase. What final phase? They are overloading their planet's magnetic field and rotating core. If my calculations are correct, they are going to turn their entire planet into a massive electromagnetic weapon. Admiral's voice grew stronger. To every species listening to this transmission, we want you to remember something. They can destroy your cities and kill your people, but they cannot destroy your determination to be free. They cannot kill your willingness to fight. The planet's energy output is increasing exponentially, the sensor officer reported. Sir, we need to retreat to minimum safe distance. No, shouted, we are so close to victory. Sir, said firmly, if that planet explodes with the force they are generating, it will destroy every ship within a light tower of this system. We are not retreating from primitive humans. And to the hegemony, Admiral said, we want you to remember this moment. Remember that humans chose to die as free people rather than live as slaves. Remember that we turned our own world into a weapon against you. The energy readings from Earth peaked, and the planet began to pulse with blinding light. Remember us, Admiral said, his voice growing faint. Remember that small, determined people can resist any tyranny if they are willing to pay the price. Remember that we said no. The transmission ended, but its effects had already begun. Across space, enslaved worlds that had received the human broadcast were beginning to stir. The seeds of rebellion had been planted. Admiral stared at Earth as it prepared for its final, devastating attack. He realized that even if he won this battle, he had already lost the war. The humans had made sure of that. Order the fleet to retreat, he said quietly. Sorry. Retreat, he repeated. We cannot win this. As the fleet began to pull back, Earth continued to grow brighter. The humans were keeping their promise. If they could not live free, they would die free, and they would take their enemies with them. 6 months had passed since the destruction of Earth. Admiral sat alone in his quarters, staring out at the stars through a small window. His victory over the humans should have made him a hero throughout the hegemony. Instead, it had become his greatest failure. The door to his quarters opened, and Captain entered without permission. Did not even look up. The Hegemony Council wants your report, said quietly. My report, repeated with bitter laughter. How do I explain this? You won, sir. Earth is gone. The human species is extinct. Did I win? Finally turned to look at his second-in-command. Look around you. Look at what has happened to our empire. Could not argue. In the 6 months since Earth's destruction, 17 worlds under control had rebelled. 3 entire star systems had declared independence. The hegemony was falling apart. It started within days of the human broadcast, continued. The slaves on Prime built weapons exactly like the ones the humans had designed. They used the same tactics, the same strategies. We defeated those rebellions, pointed out. After losing 60 ships and thousands of soldiers, and as soon as we defeated Prime, 2 more worlds rebelled, then 5 more, then 12. Sat down across from his former commander. The humans taught them how to fight. No, said, the humans taught them something worse. They taught them that it was possible to fight. On his desk was a data pad containing reports from across space. Every world told the same story. Enslaved populations that had been peaceful for generations were suddenly building weapons and attacking their occupiers. Look at this, said, picking up the data pad. This is from the colony on Vega 7. Listen to what their leader broadcast before they attacked our garrison. We choose freedom or death, just like the humans of Earth. We will not surrender. Sir. And this one, from the mining world of Titan Beta. If humans could turn their entire planet into a weapon, we can turn our minds into bombs. They killed 3,000 of our soldiers by collapsing their entire mining complex. Through the data pad across the room, every single rebellion uses the same words. Every single one mentions Earth and the humans. The communications console in his quarters started beeping, activated it, and the image of Hegemony's supreme leader appeared on the screen. Admiral, said in the harsh voice of their species, report to the council chamber immediately. We have received disturbing news. What news? Asked. The Galactic Council has sent us a message. They want to discuss what you did to Earth. An hour later, stood before the Hegemony Council. The 12 members of the Supreme Leadership looked angry and worried. Explain to us, Supreme Leader said, how a simple conquest of a primitive world has resulted in the collapse of 17 star systems. The humans were not as primitive as our reports suggested, replied. They had no space fleet, no energy weapons, no advanced technology, another council member pointed out. How could they cause so much damage? Thought about how to explain something that still confused him. They turned everything into a weapon. Their civilian ships, their industrial capacity, their planet itself. But more importantly, they shared everything they learned with the entire galaxy. So what? Demanded. Other species have done the same thing. No, they have not, said firmly. Other species fight to preserve their way of life. Humans fought to preserve the idea of freedom itself. Even while they were dying, they were teaching others how to resist oppression. The council chamber became quiet as members considered this. And now, continued, every enslaved world in our empire knows that resistance is possible. They know that small groups can defeat larger forces if they are willing to sacrifice everything. A younger council member spoke up. Then we crush these rebellions harder. We make examples that will terrify others. We tried that, replied. When we destroyed the rebellion on Prime, we made sure to broadcast the executions across the Empire. It was supposed to discourage resistance. And it encouraged more rebellions. The other worlds said they would rather die fighting than live in fear of similar executions. Supreme Leader leaned forward. You are saying that our own tactics no longer work. I am saying that the humans changed something fundamental in this galaxy. They proved that tyranny can be defeated by people who refuse to accept it. The communication console at the front of the chamber activated. The image of Ambassador H from the Galactic Council appeared on the screen. Supreme Leader, the Talon Empire Ambassador said, the Galactic Council has reached a decision regarding the attack on Earth. What decision? Asked. The Council has voted to place your entire empire under economic sanctions until you agree to release all enslaved worlds and accept war crimes tribunals. War crimes. We were defending ourselves against human aggression. Your own communications logs show that you attacked Earth without provocation, H replied calmly. You also broadcast your intention to enslave the human population. The humans are dead. There is no one left to prosecute crimes against. That is true, H agreed. But the galaxy has decided that what happened to Earth must never happen again. The Council has also voted to honor the humans' final wish. What wish? In their last transmission, the humans asked that their sacrifice be remembered. The Council has agreed to build a monument at the location of Earth's former orbit. A monument to our enemies. A monument to the idea that freedom is worth any sacrifice, H corrected. The inscription will read, "Here stood a species that taught the galaxy the meaning of the word no. They fell, but their no echoes forever." The transmission ended, leaving the Hegemony Council in stunned silence. "Sir," Captain said quietly too, "there is something else you should know." "What?" "Yesterday, we received reports that the collective has started training their military using human tactics. They say they want to be prepared in case we ever attack them. They were never under our control." "No, sir. But they apparently decided that any empire that would destroy an entire world is a threat to the galaxy." Supreme Leader stood up from his throne. "Admiral, you were supposed to demonstrate our strength. Instead, you have made us the most hated species in the galaxy." "I destroyed Earth," protested. "I eliminated the humans." "You eliminated the humans," agreed. "But you gave birth to something worse. You gave the galaxy the idea that empires can be resisted." Over the following months, the hegemony continued to crumble. One by one, their enslaved worlds gained independence. Other galactic powers, inspired by the human example, began supporting these liberation movements. Admiral was eventually tried for war crimes and spent the rest of his life in prison. But sometimes, late at night, he would remember the last words of Admiral Thomas. "Remember us. Remember that we said no." The galaxy did remember. For generations afterward, whenever a tyrant tried to conquer a free world, the defenders would broadcast the same message the humans had sent. "We choose freedom or death. We will not surrender." Earth was gone, but the humans had won their war in the most complete way possible. They had taught the galaxy that some things are worth dying for, and that even the smallest voice saying no can echo across the stars forever. Years later, the monument the Galactic Council built became a pilgrimage site for beings from across the galaxy. They came to remember the species that had chosen to burn their own world rather than see it enslaved. And in the space where Earth had once orbited, their monument bore the simple words that had changed the galaxy. They said no, and the stars still remember.